and get my, thank you, Noel. Get our recording going, and everybody see that okay?
I read it. Now I can.
All right. All right, good, good. So as a segue to that, yes, we are going to have to, at some point in time, transition to a healthy eating plan. And we're going to go over what that looks like and what that might mean to you today. So this is element 14. And obviously our agenda is going to be, we're going to talk about that mindset. We do have to learn how to empower ourselves. I like to look at it as reframing what we're facing in front of us. We'll have to create a little bit of a skill set that we can lean into that helps us transition from our weight loss phase to our moving into a maintenance phase. So remember, phase 2 is kind of that middle ground between weight loss and maintenance. So you're still moving along the continuum here. And then we need some action plans. We need something that will help guide you through that transition. So we're going to talk about all of those things. Obviously, we can't start our day without a little quote from Dr. A, right? And I can't quite move my view. So I'm going to ask Vanessa to pop off of mute and read that out loud for us all, if you don't mind.
Yes, not at all. In order to continue making progress, we need to transition your body to the full range of healthier foods that will allow you to eat more variety of meals and yet choose the foods that help support your long-term health and weight.
Thank you so much. But more importantly, I like looking at Dr. A. Who here thinks that this is a handsome man? All right, thank you. All right, it's not just me. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait to see him in Atlanta. It's going to be fantastic. All right, so really important. This is kind of our stages. And these stages, these phases, as they call them, the 4 phases, kind of give us a guide as to when we're going to know when it's time for us to transition. But we've got a couple of things here that we want to consider in that decision making. Number 1, our BMI. So on page 155 in your life book, you can find the BMI chart, and it's based off of your current weight and your height. Now, it doesn't take age or anything like that into consideration, so I want you to understand that this is an estimate. It's for the average population. So at the end of the day, you're the one who decides when it's time to stop losing weight and to start transitioning. So remember, that is your choice. But I encourage you to have that conversation in conjunction with your coach, because your coach can really help you in making that final determination. There's a couple other factors we want to look at. We want to look at body fat percentage. That's a consideration. For men, we want to have it down to about 18%, and for women, 25%. I encourage my clients to go a little further to 20%, but it's a difference between coaches and then also what my client wants. And then this waist circumference is really important. And I would think it's even more important than body fat. And that would be that for our gentlemen, we want to have a waist circumference below 37. And ladies, for us, 31.5 inches. Now, I'm small as you know, in general, but I still have a pretty thick waist. I'm kind of like, you know, some people are shaped like a pear. I'm shaped like a paper towel roll, you know, just kind of straight down. I don't have many curves. So I have a wider or a thicker waist. So we need to take into consideration too our body shape and size. But again, with your coach, you guys can consider that together. We need to have a mindset that's prepared for this transition and for it to be a successful transition. So again, I go back to connecting with your coach. Between the two of you, you will determine and establish your goal or goals. And then we want to know, what is your activity level? Are you are you a light exerciser? Are you a moderate exerciser, or do you tend to exercise more on the higher level? So for instance, I know Brenda Deegan's working on a triathlon, and so she would want to have to consider all the training that's going into that prep for that triathlon and the extra calories she's burning. And we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to make that transition plan. So this skill set, this is where we start to get into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. First, we need to determine that total energy expenditure. So it's referred to as a T here. And that's adding the calories until you reach your body's set point. It's a set weight point. So that's basically that balance between calories in and calories out. And then that transition eating plan. We have a 6-week example, but at habitsofhealth.com, we have some further menu examples for you, and your coach can get those to you as you enter into the transition phase. My timer just went off. It's time to eat. So let's talk about T. So what determines your T? Number one, we take 3 variables. Your basal metabolic rate. So what is a basal metabolic rate? Basically, that's all the energy that your body needs to function. So for breath, for repair of cells, tissue, nerves, so your brain function. So we generally create or use a certain amount of calories every day for that. And that BMR is something that is pretty steady. It doesn't really change in terms of its overall number. And then there's your physical activity level, called a PAL. And that physical activity level is really something that you can control. This is your energy out. This is your movement. This is that daily walk with the dog. This is going to a fitness class. So this is the calories burned, energy burned. And then the thermal effect of food that you eat. Thermal effect of food is certain foods require a little more effort to allow your body to assimilate them, to bring them into the cellular structure. And so you burn calories as you eat certain foods. And I'll just as an example, I'm just going to talk about water. Warm water versus a glass of ice cold water. Your body can assimilate room temperature water much faster, so it doesn't burn as many calories. But if you drink a glass of ice water, your body actually has to warm that water up to your body temperature, which requires calories, before it can assimilate that water. So think about that next time you decide, I have a warm glass or a cold glass. Well, I'll burn more calories with the cold glass of water. So we want to calculate your T. So if you want to screenshot this slide, you certainly can, but you can also find all this information on page 274 in your life book, and you can write these calculations down for your own in your own life book and have them with you. Now, as a sidebar, I want you to understand, and we're going to talk about this, as your weight changes, you would have to recalculate this number, okay? So keep that in mind. If you're doing it today based off of your current weight and you're not in transition, you will need to go back and do this again, and your coach will guide you through that. So we're going to take your current weight in pounds. If you'd like to go ahead and do this along with me right now, maybe grab your calculator or paper and pencil if you're old-fashioned like me. We're going to take our current weight in pounds and we're going to multiply that by 11 kcals. So 11 calories. That's your T. So now with your T, we're going to have to bring in what your activity level is. So based off of the information below here on the screen that you see, your activity level, you would multiply your T by your current activity level. So for light exercisers, 1.2, moderate, 1.5, and if you're a heavy exerciser, 1.7. If you're not sure, then I would lean toward that lighter side, just for safety's sake, especially in the beginning of transition. Does anybody want to come off and share kind of where they're at with that calculation? Anybody willing? I'll share mine. So I did both mine and my husband's. And for me, at my current weight, with a moderate exercise load, my T was 1,848 calories. But with my exercise, I'm sorry, my T was 1,232 calories, and I did moderate exercise. That would bring me to 1,848 calories. That's my T. Those are the total number of calories I need to consume to maintain my weight at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that total number of calories into this transition daily calorie intake, and we're going to subtract our caloric phase one calorie intake. So in phase one, what you're in now, most of us are taking in 850 to 1,000 or 1,100 calories. So you're going to need to know how many calories you're taking in during this phase one. So I put 1,000 because that's where I was when I did plan. And I subtract that from my transitional daily calorie intake, 1,848. And that left me with 848 calories. So we're going to have to adjust up and down to keep your weight stable as we begin this transition. But what I did is I took those 848 calories and divided them by 6 because I eat 6 times a day. That gave me 40 calories to add to my fuelings every time I fueled through that day. So give me some north-south if this is making sense. If it's not, give me an east-west. And then I will say this, if you're not sure, we talk to our coach, so we draw the circle with our hand. Yes, I get it, but I need to talk to my coach. All right. It is really simple if you walk through the steps on page 274 of your life book. Now, what we're going to provide you as coaches is this sample transition chart. And this kind of indicates and shows you how you gradually begin to bring in those whole foods again and the other food groups that we've eliminated during weight loss, i.e. fruits, dairy. So if you'll look at this very closely, you'll see in that first week of transition, all we're doing is adding a cup of vegetables each day. So what I would encourage you to consider is that not to eat that extra cup of vegetables in one sitting, but to spread them out over 2 different meals. And then you would notice as you go down through the weeks, as we come into week 4, so weeks 1, 2, and 3, we're still a 5 and 1. Okay, but as we come into week 4, we become a 3 or a 4 and 1, or 4 and 2, I'm sorry, 4 and 2. And then as we come into week 4, it becomes a 3 and 1. So we're gradually kind of reducing the fuelings down and bringing you more and more whole foods. And again, we have weekly menu plans that will help guide you through that. They're sample plans, and we have that substitute item list, and coaches can provide that to their clients as needed. So one thing that's super important as we move through transition is to remember that what you eat matters. And we have to find that balance set point to compensate for the increased leptin, reduced insulin, and prevent any additional weight gain. And I have a feeling someone might ask me about what is leptin. And I think it's important for you to understand as your body is changing back to a healthier state, leptin is a hormone that is actually an appetite suppressant. And it inhibits and kind of helps prevent those hunger pains. It helps your body find that balance with the insulin production. So it's a positive thing, and it helps mediate that hunger response. So we want to be careful not to add in high GI index foods or glycemic index foods while we're in transition. Really stay within the dark green area and the lighter green. On occasion, if you jump out into that higher GI glycemic index, be mindful of that and really try to stay within the low GI. So these are just some examples. You can find these charts at habitsofhealth.com. They're also in your Dr. A's Habits of Health. Here's some fruits, breads, cereals, pastas, because eventually after week 4, we start to bring in whole grains. And so we want to be mindful of what those whole grains look like and that we're eating the appropriate serving size. So weighing and measuring, journaling, all of those things are so important to help you find that right spot that's good for you. So here's a sample transition plan for week 1. And you can see we start with pancakes, we go to the blueberry biscuit, but then notice here at lunch, we're getting that cheddar mac and cheese plus 1 cup diced tomato and green pepper. So they've brought it into 1 meal. All right, you could spread that out if you preferred. And then you see you have your crunchers, and then we have our dinner, which is a lean green, and then our evening fueling. But then as we move to week 2, this sample meal plan shows you that with the cherry ganache bar, we get to have 1 medium banana. So this is a great way to kind of fill in the blanks if you're like, I don't know what I should have and when I should have it. Getting these sample meal plans from your coach will really help you walk through this a lot easier. Okay, and here we are at week 4. I wanted to pull week 4 up because it shows you, let's go ahead and look at that really close. By the time you hit week 4, we're adding some strawberries in the morning. We're getting some grilled chicken. Our protein is increasing here with some spaghetti squash. We find a medium apple as our mid-afternoon fueling. So we're starting to remove some of our Optavia fuelings here. You can see a small sweet potato is brought in at dinner. All right, so real important to pay attention to these things because we do want to bring our whole foods back in. We want to eat those fibrous, rich whole grains. And then here are your resources. So you can start to create your action plan now if you'd like and kind of understand what that looks like by going to optavia.com and doing the help programs guide. And then our habitsofhealth.com, those systems resources for the color-coded glycemic index charts. So we have a lot of information out there. And again, I can't say it enough, lean into your coach. Your coach has all these resources and they can help you. And coaches that are out there that are new coaches, lean into your sponsor because that's what we're here for. We're happy to help you and guide you to the right locations for this information. And now, as we wrap up, I want to open the floor to any questions that anybody might have. And also, if you're willing to share what your next action step is going to be as a result of this element. So I'm going to unshare the screen and you guys can go ahead and hop off or hop on and let's chat a little bit. Let me hear from some of you. Bueller.
Hey, Cheryl. I think no matter what stage you're in, like I have a friend on this morning that she's just going to be starting on Monday. And it's so exciting because this shows us, even though some people may not be towards that goal yet, that there is hope to actually have a plan, that there's a tried and true, a plan that works. We're, a lot of us on here have walked through it. We've gone before you and, we're not any better or any different other than just time. So definitely, dig in deep with your coaches, but it just is so exciting to see that there is an exit strategy and that it works, that you can actually, for the first time in forever, learn how to walk through the process and to keep that weight off. And it's just so freeing to know that, because that was my biggest concern. I can lose weight like a champ, or, over and over and over, thousands of the same pounds, but learning how to know how to keep it off was a whole different story, and so having this tried and true plan. And then honestly, the other safety net that was built in was, Kelly said to me, Noelle, if you help your husband and help your 2 or 3 friends, and show up, and I'll teach you how to do it, you're 5 times more likely to keep that weight off. And that was really a huge, between knowing the transition, she had done it and other people have done it that I've met and known, that there's that safety net. And then if I helped a few people, if I have to show up for them, if I choose to show up for them, I have to show up for me first. So between those 2 things, it just, really just paved the way for great success. And
Yeah.
so thank you for
Eloquently
sharing.
said. That was spot on. Thank you for sharing that, Noelle, because that really is the crux of everything. That's the important part of what we're sharing here today,
Mhm.
is that accountability is also a very important piece. But yeah, that there is hope and there is an end point. There's a place to go to. So I love that. Thank you. So
And that it
well.
could have a piece of pizza, on occasion, a
Yeah,
piece of pizza, or sometimes Jason will have a glass of wine with a steak or something. And
yeah.
that you don't gain, 9 pounds thinking about having the piece of pizza or smelling your children eating the piece of pizza, so it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Moderation, everything in moderation. Is anyone on today preparing for transition at this time? And would you like to come off and talk with us about your plan or your thoughts on transition? Maybe you're fearful. Maybe you're excited. We'd like to hear from you.
Hi, Cheryl. This is Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. So I hit my goal weight this last week, and so I am working in the very beginning stages of transition. And as you said, it is the thing that I was most scared about. And Cheryl's been talking to me about it. And so she sent me the sample plan, and I'm just taking a bit to think before I start it. So I'm looking at the plan. I'm still continuing on my 5 and 1, just because I know it's comfortable, and then starting to think about how I'm going to implement it probably next week. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya. Yeah, it's going to be a good transition when you're ready. And that's the key. Make sure that we have our mindset prepared, that we have the skill set and the action plan available to us. And then most important, and one of the key elements is definitely leaning into your coach, because sometimes these things are challenging and confusing, and we can simplify that for you. But I love what Noelle said too, that when you take that step to help someone else, and to help others, it does drive not only your accountability, but your education, your knowledge. You reach in a little deeper, you learn a little bit more, and suddenly it just becomes a natural automated response for you. I would say that this week, from talking with clients, one of the biggest things I take away that I had from them over the 4th of July is, while many of them chose to make choices off 5 and 1, they had an awareness. They said, I was so aware of what was healthy and what wasn't, and how much of it I was putting in my mouth. And, and then it was just kind of little triggers like, I'm going to stop eating this now. I know this isn't good, or isn't going to help me move down that path that I'm of health and wellness that I want so much. So anybody else have any last minute thoughts or words of wisdom they want to share? Brenda, you don't have anything to share with us today, my friend?
Cheryl, I'll share something. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm not in my house right now.
We hear you, Renee.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes it's a preview into transition. I hear from a lot of clients who maybe they got stuck, they didn't have their fuelings, a trip ended up a little bit longer. Sometimes things are out of our control, and that's exactly what I hear, is that their mindset was different, that they reacted in a completely different way than before program. And it kind of gives them a preview into transition and how things have already shifted, and how they, basically eat a transition day instead of just going off the rails. And that is super encouraging. I know a couple clients got stuck a couple places over the holiday weekend. They didn't have enough. And I'm like, man, look at your choices. Look at what you did. Like, it's a totally different life. I'm like, before this, what would you have had? And they're just like, so, that's happened to all of us, here and there over time. And it really is a shift from the beginning.
Yeah, it is truly. Well said. Thank you, Renee. Appreciate that. Well, everyone, we've gone a little bit over, and that's okay. Just like making a choice off plan is okay, as long
Hey,
as you're
Brenda
willing.
did come off. Brenda,
Brenda,
you have to say something.
No, I'm just,
Brenda.
I'm so glad to have a plan and, all the great information that you shared. As I am, planning for my triathlon in 5 weeks, just really looking back and, figuring out how do I add those extra calories in and to fuel my body well, because if I don't, I can feel it and it doesn't work very well with training. So yeah, but
Yes.
thank you so much,
Yes.
Cheryl. So many good, wonderful nuggets this morning, everyone. And so good to be with you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Brenda. We wish you the best with your triathlon, and make sure you eat plenty of whole grains. You're going to need that glycogen. As from a past triathlete, I know. And can we get an update on Tammy? How is Tammy?
Tammy is, and thank you for asking. And I will say that last week we said a quick prayer for her during coffee chat while she was in the hospital. And I sent her a picture of that. And it just meant the world to her. So guys, that's what I mean by leaning into this community. It really makes such a difference. And anyway, but she is home. They have her on some blood thinner, and I went by and visited with her just the other day, and she just said how much different people have reached out or commented on her social media and just how much she appreciates that. But she's doing good. She's actually doing really well on program this week, and really just praying that this is once she gets past this, she is on the full road to recovery.
Awesome. So glad to hear. Well, as we wrap up, folks, I just want to say that you will all be in my prayers and thoughts. And I hope that everyone is safe and happy and healthy out there. Let's have a short prayer for, just take some time for yourself to pray for Kelly's mom, who had an incident yesterday or last night. So she's in the hospital. So let's pray for Kelly. And I just want to wish everybody love and light. Have a beautiful weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday. Do we have one next Saturday?
Yes, we have one next Saturday. Just and I'm glad you brought that up for us to remind everyone. The following Saturday, we will be coaches will be at convention, and so we will be learning how to better serve you. So we will not be there. I will be leading next week on element 15, and I look forward to seeing you all.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Have an awesome weekend. Love and light. Peace
Bye,
out.
everyone.